Members, good evening, members. Members of the public, good evening. Before we start, members, can I just say it's very warm in here tonight, so if members want to take their jackets off, please feel free to do so. So we're not expecting a fire drill this evening, so if the fire alarm does go off during the meeting, please leave immediately by the nearest emergency exit. Gather outside Runnymede Hall. Cabinet members, please introduce yourself, starting on the right-hand side with Councillor Warren Gibson.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening, members. Good evening, members of the public. Councillor Warren Gibson, Deputy Leader of the Council.
Good evening. Thank you, Leader. I am Councillor Tim Copsey, Portfolio Holder for Strategic Planning.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Cabinet Member for People and Community, Councillor Russ Savage.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening all. Councillor Rob Lillis, Cabinet Member for Health, Wellbeing and Housing.
Evening all. Councillor Tom Gibson, Cabinet Member for Special Projects and Assets.
Good evening everybody. Councillor Barry Palmer, Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Climate.
Good evening everybody. Councillor Michael Fuller, Cabinet Member for Environment.
Thank you. Good evening everyone. Councillor Steve Mountford, Cabinet Member for Resources.
Thank you, members. And as we've got a full house, there are no apologies for absent. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Members, do you have any interest to declare? No interest to declare? Okay, members. Agenda item 3, members, questions on notice. Members, there are none. Agenda item 4, Castle Point Plan Regulation 19, consultation. Councillor Gibson, please, could you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Leader. Good evening, members. As you know, we are here this evening to approve the Castle Point Plan to go to Regulation 19. I obviously won't be going through the entire report due to the sheer size of it. The creation of a local plan is a complex and important task that councils are required to undertake. This council has been on a journey which has required significant evidence gathering, consultations and assessments to create a community-led Castle Point plan. The timeline of the Castle Point plan dates back to March 2022, when this council decided not to adopt the local plan from 2018 to 2033. This was followed in June 2022 at another meeting when that plan was withdrawn. In November 2022, Council agreed the programme for preparing the Castle Point plan. From March 2023 to August 2023, initial issues engagement was undertaken. This was extensive, borough-wide engagement on what residents and key stakeholders wanted to see in a Castle Point plan. In December 2023, an updated NPPF was published by the government which allowed for councils to identify exceptional circumstances which allowed for the local planning authorities did not have to review their green belts. Also, the Secretary of State acknowledged the council would provide a plan and submit a plan by June 2025. In January 2024, a revised local development scheme was published, committing to submission of that plan by June 2025. And from July 24 to September 24, the issues and options engagement was undertaken. This is also known as Regulation 18. This was an extensive, borough-wide engagement on what residents and stakeholders thought around the issues that need to be addressed through the plan, and the options for addressing those issues. During these same months, the government consulted on proposed amendments to the NPPF, which would change the standard method of calculating housing need and would introduce other policies such as grey belt. In July 2024, the Leader and myself wrote to the Secretary of State setting out concerns with regard to the proposed amendments to the NPPF and its implications for progressing the Castle Point plan. In October 2024, Baroness Taylor wrote back to the Leader and myself in response, encouraging the continued progression of the Castle Point plan in line with the NPPF which was then in place. In December 2024, the government published the revised NPPF, which significantly changed national policy around the housing requirement and the Greenbelt, including a requirement to review Greenbelt. but did not include the updated guidance on the Greenbelt assessments at that time. In January 2025, a revised local development scheme was agreed to provide time for the revisions to the MPPF to be addressed. In February of 2025, an advisory visit to the Council by the Planning Inspectorate highlighted the extent of additional challenges arising from the revisions to the MPPF, meaning much more further additional work was required beyond that anticipated. Also, on the 27th of February, the Greenbelt Assessment Guidance was published by the Government. So that gives you an overview of the challenges we've had putting this plan together. Today, this plan has reached a significant stage, a Regulation 19 draft Castle Point plan. Moving on from here, next steps are the Regulation 19 consultation, which will commence on the 1st of August 2025, and it will run for 8 weeks until the 26th of September. The consultation will be widely advertised in local newspapers as per legal requirements and promoted through our social media channels. All those who have previously engaged on the Castle Point plan will be written to, either by email or by letter. However, you do not have to have responded to the consultations previously to respond this time, and I strongly encourage all residents to have their say and put their views forward. The consultation will be hosted online, and hard copies of the Castle Point plans will be available to read at local libraries and at the council offices. The responses collected by the council at this time will be sent off to the inspector when one is appointed to examine the plan if the plan goes to submission in November. As certain information needs to be captured in the consultation, either hard copy forms or online forms will be the preferred method to gather in views. All the information collected will be processed and the duty to cooperate statement will be completed. In November, a report will be brought to Cabinet and then full council seeking the approval to submit the Castle Point plan to the Government for examination. I would also like to point out this plan has not been put together simply to appease Greenbelt campaigners, knowing that when the plan is in front of the inspector, it will fail. This is not the case, as I genuinely believe the Castle Point plan has every chance of being found sound. And on that note, I'd like to point out section 4.17 of the report. Officers' professional opinion is that the Castle Point plan represents a balanced approach to development that is led by the outcomes of community engagement as sufficiently developed in line with planning legislation and policy to proceed to Regulation 19 consultation. So with that brief summary of the report, I would also like to thank not only the Castle Point Plan Board for the hard work they've done over the last 2 to 3 years, but the officers for the tremendous work they have put in, the extra evidence they have had to gather, and those officers are Amanda Parrott led it, and Matt and Beth and Neil and Ian. So that's the end of the report, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Copsey.
Not a question. I just like to add my thanks to Councillor Gibson. I'd like to thank him for his stewardship and chairing of the Plan Board, and all the work that's gone into it is absolutely phenomenal, and the evidence that's been gathered. And thank you to all the officers that have been involved in supporting that, and external teams as well. So I just want to add my thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, members, no more speakers. Members, there are 4 recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1 of the report, which I will move. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Members, is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you, members. That concludes the formal business for this evening. The meeting is closed at, what's your noise? 7:10. Thank you very much. I'll see you in about 20 minutes.